The city of Virella Prime glowed like a diamond in the dark. Towers of silver rose high above the dust storms, and neon signs covered every wall. But in the lower districts, beneath the shining bridges, life was different. It was cold, dirty, and full of forgotten faces. On one of those narrow streets sat a young alien girl. Her name was Sarah, though no one called her by it anymore. Her skin was pale blue, her hair thin and tangled like silver threads. Her ribs showed beneath her clothes. For days she had eaten nothing but scraps from the garbage piles. Inside a bright glass cafe across the street, aliens laughed and ate thick soups, spicy bread, and shining fruits. Sarah could smell it all through the cracks in the door. The scent made her stomach twist. She pressed her face to the glass, watching as they lifted their cups, laughing at something on a hollow screen. When one of them noticed her, he pointed. "Look at that one," he shouted. "She's still alive? How is that possible?" The others laughed. One even threw a coin at the glass. It bounced, rolled down the step, and landed near her bare feet. She stared at it, then at them. "Go on, little worm," one said, smirking. "Buy yourself a dream." Sarah didn't speak. She hadn't spoken to anyone in weeks. Her voice had grown quiet like her hope. She reached for the coin, but before she could touch it, a guard stepped on her hand. The heavy boot pressed down hard. She winced but didn't cry. The guard only laughed. "No begging in front of customers," he said. He kicked the coin into the drain. "Trash belongs with trash." The laughter returned. The glass door closed. The warm light vanished. And Sarah was alone again. She curled her knees against her chest and whispered to herself, "Tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow." But she didn't believe her own words anymore. A human watching across the street. A human named Evan Cole stood in the rain. He was an engineer from the Earth Virella trade program. He had been assigned to repair atmospheric converters on the city's edge. Most humans stayed in the upper sectors where it was clean and safe. But Evan preferred to walk. He liked to see what the world really looked like. That day he saw Sarah. He watched as the guard kicked her hand as the cafe crowd laughed, as she whispered to herself and curled up. Something inside him tightened. He had seen many cruel things on alien worlds. Wars, hunger, greed, but this was different. There was something in her eyes. They weren't empty yet. They were full of quiet pain, and something else. Evan stepped forward. A nearby vendor, an old alien woman, hissed at him. "Don't do it, human, she's unbound." "What does that mean?" he asked. "She's no one. No family, no housemark. They erased her identity. If you help her, the guards will fine you. Maybe worse." Evan looked back at Sarah. She was trembling, her head resting against the wall. Her breathing was slow. He sighed and reached into his jacket. He pulled out a ration bar, standard human emergency food packed with nutrients. He crossed the street. The rain turned to steam as it hit the glowing road lights. The crowd in the cafe saw him and went silent. He knelt beside the girl. "Here," he said softly. "Eat." She blinked, unsure if he was real. Her voice came out as a whisper, broken and small. "Why?" "Because you're hungry." She looked at the food, then at his face. Her fingers trembled as she reached for it. The moment she touched it, tears filled her eyes. She took a small bite, then another, faster, almost shaking. From behind the glass, the aliens started laughing again. One shouted, "Look! The human feeds garbage." Another added, "Maybe he'll marry her next." Evan ignored them. "Slow down," he said gently. "You'll get sick," but she didn't stop. She ate until it was gone, until she licked the crumbs from her palm. When she finally looked up, her eyes shone faintly, a soft silver light in the dark. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated. Sarah." "Well, Sarah," Evan said, standing, "you'll be okay tonight." But before he could walk away, a shadow fell across them. The warning, a tall alien officer in black armor stepped forward. His uniform shimmered with the golden seal of the Virellan Authority. "Human," he said, voice sharp like metal scraping stone. "You have violated Local Conduct Rule 49. Evan frowned. "For giving someone food?" "For feeding an unbound," the officer replied coldly. "They are excluded from the city system. They are not citizens. You are now part of her contamination." "Contamination?" Evan's voice rose. "She's just a starving girl." "Silence," the officer snapped. "You will come with us." Sarah looked up terrified. "Please," she whispered. "They'll hurt you." Evan clenched his fists. "I'm not going anywhere." The officer's guard stepped closer. The cafe crowd pressed against the glass, watching the scene like entertainment. Some began recording with their hollow devices. Evan stood his ground. "Do your rules say you can beat a child for being hungry?" The officer sneered. "Your kind thinks compassion is strength. Here it is weakness." Rain began to fall harder. A bolt of thunder cracked overhead. The officer's communicator buzzed. He spoke into it, annoyed. "Understood. Returning to patrol." Then he glared at Evan. "This isn't over, human. Keep to your own kind." He turned and walked away. Evan exhaled slowly. His hand shook. He turned to Sarah. "You need to get off this street." "I have nowhere," she said. "They took my house mark. I'm not allowed inside any sector." "Then you'll freeze." She smiled weakly. "I've been freezing for years." He looked around. The rain was now heavy and the night colder. He pulled off his jacket and wrapped it around her thin shoulders. "Take this," she tried to protest. "You'll get cold." "I'll manage," he said. "Meet me here tomorrow at sunset." "I'll find a way." She looked up, eyes wide. "You'll come back?" "I said I would." For the first time in a long time, Sarah believed someone's words. The night after Evan left, she sat there, holding the jacket tight. It smelled strange, like metal, oil, and warmth. For her, it smelled like safety. She watched the crowds pass by. No one looked at her. No one cared. But the human had looked. He had spoken gently, not with disgust. She whispered his name again and again to herself, afraid she might forget it before morning. "Evan, Evan." Hours passed. The rain stopped. Cold wind swept through the street. She curled up in the corner, wearing the jacket like armor. The lights from the cafe went out one by one until only darkness remained. She dreamed of a table full of food, of laughter that wasn't cruel, of hands that didn't hurt. For the first time in years, she slept without fear. Evan's dilemma in his quarters, high above the lower districts. Evan stared out the window. The city below looked peaceful from this height, like a sea of stars. But he knew better. His communicator beeped. It was his commanding officer, Lieutenant Rains. "Evan, I saw the report," Rains said, voice hard. "You helped an unbound. Are you out of your mind?" "She was starving," Evan replied quietly. "You think that matters here?" "The Virelin Council is strict. One wrong move and they'll shut our trade access." "You want Earth blacklisted because of a street girl?" Evan's jaw tightened. "She's not just a street girl. She's alive." "Then let her stay alive on her own," Rains said coldly. "Don't play hero. You're here to fix machines, not souls." The call ended. Evan sat down, rubbing his eyes. He remembered her trembling hands, the small voice saying, "Thank you." He couldn't erase it. He couldn't forget her eyes. He looked at his toolkit. Inside were spare food bars and a small energy blanket. He packed them into a bag. "I'll just make sure she's alive tomorrow," he muttered. That's all. But deep down he knew it wasn't just that. A small spark at dawn, Sarah woke to the sound of footsteps. A few traders passed by, ignoring her. The jacket was still around her, heavy and warm. She found a broken piece of glass and saw her reflection for the first time in months. Her cheeks were hollow, her eyes tired, but there was a faint glow there. "Hope," she whispered. "He said he'll come back." The city above her was still cruel. The rich still laughed. The guards still walked by. But something had changed inside her. For the first time since her exile, she didn't feel invisible. She waited for sunset. The next day, Evan Cole walked through the lower district with his hood pulled low. The air smelled of rust and smoke. The streets were crowded, full of noise. Vendors shouting, machines humming, children crying. His eyes kept searching for one face. The spot where he had met Sarah was empty. His stomach tightened. He looked around, walking further down the alley, past the flickering signs and cracked glass doors. Then he saw her. Sarah sat near a vent where warm air rose from the underground pipes. His jacket was still around her shoulders. Her eyes were closed, her lips pale. For a terrible second, he thought she was gone. He knelt quickly beside her. "Sarah, can you hear me?" Her eyes fluttered open. When she saw him, she tried to sit up. "You came back," she whispered. Her voice was weak, but there was a faint smile. "I said I would." Evan opened the bag he had brought. He took out another ration bar and a small canteen of water. "Here, eat slowly this time." She obeyed, chewing carefully. The sound of rain began again, soft and steady. She ate with both hands as if afraid someone would steal it. When she finished, she whispered, "Thank you, Evan." He smiled. "Good. You remembered my name." "I didn't want to forget," she said quietly. "No one ever came back before." Evan looked at the broken buildings around them. "How long have you been out here?" "I don't know. Maybe a year. Maybe more. They erased my record. I used to live in the North Sector with my family. Then my father lost his license to work and we were cast out. He died. My mother tried to go back, but the gates wouldn't open for her. She looked down. They said we didn't belong anymore." Evan listened silently. His chest ached. "What about friends? Anyone left?" "No one. They all turned away. Once you're unbound, no one speaks to you. If they do, they're punished." He clenched his fists. "That's insane." "That's Varela," she said, her eyes dull. "The human's decision." Evan looked around the alley. "You can't stay here. You'll die if you do." She shook her head slowly. "I have nowhere else." "Then I'll find a place," he said firmly. Her eyes widened. "You'll get in trouble." "I'm already in trouble," he said with a faint smile. "Might as well make it worth it." He stood, offering his hand. For a moment she hesitated. Her blue fingers hovered near his. Then slowly she took his hand. It was the first time in her life someone had reached out like that. Not to hurt her, but to help. Evan led her through the narrow lanes until they reached a small workshop on the edge of the human sector. The building was old, filled with spare parts and humming drones. He unlocked the door and motioned her inside. "Stay quiet and don't touch the big red button." She nodded, eyes wide as she looked at the glowing machines, blinking panels, and hanging cables. "You live here?" "Sometimes," he said, setting down his bag. "It's where I fix drones and atmospheric filters. Not much, but it's safe." She walked slowly, touching a metal sphere on the table. They look alive," he smiled. "Almost. They do what I tell them to." Sarah tilted her head. "You make machines listen?" "Something like that," he said, amused. He gave her a blanket and an old sleeping mat. "Rest here. You'll be safe." As she lay down, she whispered, "Why are you helping me?" Evan looked away for a moment, thinking. "Because I couldn't stand watching someone laugh while you starved." Her lips trembled. "You're strange, human." "I get that a lot," he said, smiling faintly. Rumors in the city days passed. Evan continued his work at the human station during the day, but every evening he returned to the workshop with food and water for Sarah. She grew stronger, her eyes brighter. Her thin arms gained some life again, and she began to speak more. He taught her how to use tools, how to hold a wrench, how to calibrate drone wings. She was quick, almost too quick. One evening, as Evan adjusted a drone circuit, he noticed Sarah staring at the schematic on the screen. "What is it?" he asked. She pointed. "This line." "It's wrong," he frowned. "What do you mean?" She took the stylus and redrew the pattern. "It should curve like this or the energy won't flow right." Evan stared. "How did you know that? See it," she said softly. He checked her correction and his eyes widened. She was right. "Perfectly right, you've got a good brain," he said, impressed. "No," she said. "I just remember things fast. Too fast sometimes." The discovery one night while Evan was out gathering supplies, 2 alien traders came to the workshop. They had been watching from a distance, curious about the human who visited the unbound zones. When Evan returned, he found the door slightly open. His heart pounded as he rushed inside. Sarah was hiding behind the workbench, her eyes wide. "They came," she whispered. "They asked questions. They said they could sell me." Evan's face hardened. "Not again." He locked the door and turned on the security field. "You'll stay here tonight," Sarah trembled. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring trouble." "You didn't," he said softly. "They did." He looked at her, realizing something deeper. Varela's cruelty wasn't just social. It was systemic. The city didn't just ignore the unbound. It used them. Evan started digging into records on his terminal, searching for data on unbound. Most files were restricted, but he bypassed a few locks. What he found made his blood run cold. The unbound weren't random exiles. They were failed biomodification subjects. Citizens born with altered genes from an old experiment meant to increase intelligence and adaptation. The program had been shut down because the altered aliens couldn't process local food. They starved no matter how much they ate. He stared at the screen. "That's why." Sarah looked at him. "Why what?" You're not weak, he said slowly. You were made to be smarter, faster. But your body can't use Virelin food. She frowned. Then why can I eat your food? Evan realized it at once. Because it's human-made. Different chemical base, her eyes widened. So, if I have human food, you'll live, he finished. The chase begins. The next day, Evan tried to get more human rations from the supply center. But access was limited and every request was logged. A Virelin officer noticed the unusual withdrawal and sent a notice to the central authority. That evening, when Evan returned to the workshop, he found a warning light blinking near the door. Surveillance drones had passed by. Someone was watching. Inside, Sarah looked at him anxiously. You're late. Had trouble getting food, he said. We need to move. Move? They know I've been taking supplies. If they find you here, they'll take you away. Sarah's voice shook. Where will we go? Evan hesitated. There's an abandoned station near the river. We'll hide there until I figure something out. She nodded, trusting him completely. As they packed, Evan could hear distant sirens. The sound grew louder, echoing through the streets. They ran through the back alleys, their footsteps splashing through puddles. Drones flew overhead, scanning. They ducked under a bridge as searchlights swept by. Sarah clung to him, trembling. Why are they chasing us? Because kindness isn't allowed here, Evan said bitterly. When the lights passed, they continued, finally reaching the old transport station, a broken dome with shattered glass and rusted tracks. They set up a small camp inside, using the blanket and a portable heater. Sarah ate quietly, staring at the human beside her. You could leave, she said softly. If they catch you, they'll send you away. You'll lose everything. Evan looked at her, tired but calm. Maybe I already did. But I'm not leaving you, her voice broke. No one ever said that to me. The Bonfor days they hid in the old station. Evan taught her more. How to repair drones, how to power up circuits, how to listen to the hum of energy. Sarah learned fast, faster than he expected. She began designing small tools of her own, simple things that used scraps and energy cells. She smiled more often now. Sometimes she laughed quietly when the drones beeped around her. Evan watched her one night as she worked under the soft blue light. You're not just surviving anymore, he said. She looked up. You gave me more than food. You gave me a reason. He smiled faintly. You gave yourself that. Outside, thunder rolled. Distant explosions echoed. The city was growing restless. Food shortages had begun even among the citizens. Sarah looked out through a broken window. They will come for us soon, won't they? Maybe, Evan said. But if they do, we'll be ready. The twist that night, the workshop's emergency beacon flashed red. Evan grabbed his scanner. The alert came from his storage room back in the main sector. Someone had broken in, and they found the records he had accessed. He cursed softly. They know, Sarah's eyes widened. What will they do? They'll call me a traitor, he said. Helping an unbound is one thing. Hiding classified data is another. She stood, trembling. Then I should go. If they catch me, they might let you live. He shook his head. No, Sarah, you don't understand. You're proof they were wrong. If you die, the truth dies too. Before she could answer, searchlights flashed through the cracks in the dome. Loudspeakers shouted, Human Engineer Evan Cole. You are ordered to surrender immediately. Evan looked at Sarah. Run through the maintenance tunnel. Don't stop. Follow the lights on the wall. What about you? She cried. I'll distract them. She shook her head, tears falling. You'll be killed. He smiled sadly. Then I'll make it worth something. As the soldiers broke through the gate, Sarah disappeared into the tunnel. Evan turned toward the blinding light, standing tall. Guess compassion really is a crime here, he muttered. The soldiers closed in. The night sky burned red over Varela Prime. Sirens echoed through the empty streets. Smoke rose from the human trade district where fire still burned. Soldiers moved like shadows through the rain, searching every corner. The city had become a cage. Deep underground in the dark tunnels below the river, Sarah ran barefoot. Her breath came fast, her heart pounding. Behind her, she could still hear the faint noise of blasters firing in the distance. She wanted to stop to go back, but Evan's last words echoed in her head. Run, don't stop. You're proof they were wrong. Tears blurred her vision. She stumbled but forced herself forward until the noise above grew quiet. The tunnel opened into a wide space filled with old machinery. Broken generators, rusted pipes, and forgotten cargo crates. She fell to her knees and cried. "He's gone," she whispered. "He saved me again, and I left him behind." For the first time, she wished she wasn't so weak. She wished she could fight back. Then she saw something blinking faintly in one of the old crates. A small cube Evans data module. He must have dropped it when he told her to run. She picked it up and pressed the switch. A hologram flickered to life, showing his face. "Sarah," the recording said, his voice calm and steady. "If you're seeing this, I probably didn't make it out. Don't waste time crying. You have a gift. You can fix what they broke. Inside this cube is every design, every piece of data I found about the Unbound project. Use it. Show them that compassion is stronger than cruelty. Goodbye, kid." The hologram faded, leaving her staring into the dark. Her hands shook. But slowly her breathing steadied. She wiped her tears and whispered, "I'll finish what you started, human." Rise in the shadows weeks passed. The city above fell deeper into chaos. Food stores were empty. The Varellan government declared a lockdown. The upper sectors hoarded supplies while the lower districts starved. Patrols searched for the traitor human and the unbound girl, but both had vanished. In the tunnels, Sarah was not alone anymore. Other outcasts found her. Children, elders, scavengers, and even a few humans who had escaped from the riots. She shared Evan's food packs with them, the last ones she had. But soon even those ran out. That's when she began using what Evan taught her. She took apart the old machines, rewired their cores, and studied the patterns inside Evan's data cube. Days and nights blended together as she worked, using her fast learning ability to build something new. Small energy converters that turned scraps of metal and waste into edible gel. It wasn't much, but it kept everyone alive. Word began to spread through the underground. "There's a girl making food from trash. They say she's the human student. She calls herself the ghost of the human." More people came to her tunnels, hungry, desperate, lost. And she never turned anyone away. The rebellion begins. By the third month, the name Ghost of the Human reached the upper sectors. The elites called her dangerous. The poor called her a miracle. Soldiers searched the tunnels but found nothing. Sarah and her followers moved constantly, building small stations in hidden corners of the city. Everywhere they went, she left a mark, a symbol of two hands joined together, human and alien. It became a sign of hope. One night, as Sarah worked on a damaged converter, a young alien boy ran in. "They're coming!" "The guards found one of our tunnels." Sarah stood up immediately. "Get everyone out through the east exit. Take only what you can carry." "But what about you?" he asked. "I'll cover you," she said firmly. When the soldiers entered the tunnel, they found only Sarah standing in the light of a flickering lamp. Her eyes glowed silver. The officer shouted, "Surrender, Unbound. You're under arrest for spreading forbidden technology." Sarah didn't move. "Your people are starving," she said calmly. "You arrest me while they eat dirt." "Silence," the officer barked, raising his weapon. Before he could fire, the ground beneath them trembled. One of Sarah's drones, built from Evan's old designs, emerged from the shadows and released a flash of smoke. The soldiers coughed, blinded. By the time it cleared, Sarah was gone. The truth unveiled. A few days later, the Varellan broadcasting network was hacked. Every screen in the city flickered. The faces of the council members disappeared, replaced by Sarah's calm, determined expression. "People of Virella," her voice said, steady and clear. "You laughed as I starved. You called me trash and Unbound, a failure. But I was never broken, you were. You built a world where kindness is a crime. A human gave me food when none of you would. He showed me that compassion is not weakness, it is strength." Behind her, the broadcast showed footage of her feeding machines and people smiling in the tunnels. "These devices can feed thousands," she continued. "They are made from your own discarded machines. You had the power to end hunger and you chose not to." The message ended with Evan's words recorded from the cube. "If one act of kindness can start a fire, let it burn the darkness away." The transmission cut off, but it was too late. The city erupted. Crowds flooded the streets. The poor broke the gates to the upper sectors. Soldiers refused to fire on civilians. The government panicked, trying to shut down the network. But the symbol of two hands, human and alien, was everywhere now. The movement had begun. The final stand. The council ordered the capture of Sarah, calling her a terrorist. Hundreds of drones swarmed through the city, scanning every face. But Sarah didn't run this time. She turned herself in. She was taken to the central chamber, chained and surrounded by guards. The head counselor, an old alien with gold-plated skin, stared down at her. "You caused rebellion. You stole data. You spread lies." "They weren't lies," she said softly. "You made us starve. You called it order." He slammed his hand on the table. "We gave you laws. We gave you peace." Sarah looked up. "You gave us silence." He leaned closer. "And what did your human give you, girl? Pity?" Sarah smiled sadly. "No, he gave me courage." Before the council could respond, the walls trembled. Outside, the crowd had surrounded the building. Thousands of voices shouted her name. "Sarah! Sarah, the ghost of the human." The guards hesitated. For the first time, the rulers of Virella felt fear, not of war, but of the truth. Sarah stood. "You can chain me," she said, "but you can't stop what he started. The hungry won't stay quiet anymore." The old counselor stared at her, realizing it was over. A world reborn months later, the city began to rebuild. The war ended not with weapons, but with unity. The new council, made of humans and aliens together, banned the caste system. The unbound were restored as citizens. Food converters based on Sarah's design were placed in every sector. For the first time, no one in Virella went hungry. Sarah refused any title. She spent her days teaching children, building small drones to clean the rivers. She wore Evan's old jacket, now patched and faded, but she never took it off. When people asked her why she still wore it, she said softly, "Because it reminds me that kindness feeds more than hunger." The memorial years later, a human transport ship landed on Virella Prime. The visitors walked through the city's new memorial garden, the place of the first meal. In the center stood two statues, one of a human man holding out a ration bar, and one of an alien girl taking it. Between them was carved a simple plaque. He gave her food. She gave the galaxy hope. Children of both species played under the trees nearby. Flowers grew where once there had been only ash. A young teacher walked among them, Sarah. Her hair was streaked with white now, but her eyes still shone with that same silver light. One of the children, a little human girl, tugged on her sleeve. "Miss Sarah, is it true? Did a human really save you?" Sarah smiled. "Yes, he saved me when no one else would." "Why?" the girl asked. "Because he saw me," Sarah said softly. "And when someone truly sees you, you stop feeling invisible." The child grinned. "I want to be like him someday." Sarah nodded. "Then never look away from someone who's hurting." She looked up at the twin statues as the sun set behind them. For a moment, she imagined Evan standing there again, smiling that quiet smile of his. "Thank you," she whispered into the wind. "You didn't just save me. You saved them all." The wind carried her words through the garden, rustling the leaves. Somewhere far away, the stars shone brighter, as if the universe itself was listening. Final lines on a world that once laughed while others starved. A single act of kindness changed everything. One human fed a forgotten girl, and she fed a world in return. HFY, Humanity Forever.